You are listening to Able Radio, simplifying productivity for small business owners everywhere. If you are looking for 1% improvements that add up to big results, this is the place for you. Every week, we learn about simple systems and tools that will help you build the business and life you've always wanted. Now here's your host, Zachary Sexton.
Welcome to Able Business Radio. My name is Zachary Sexton, and I have with me good friend, recent friend, very exciting friend that rides his bike across continents and walks across countries, friend, Ricardo Palomares. Welcome, Ricardo.
Hey, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, you texted me this afternoon, just checking in as you do. I really appreciate that. And I was like, oh, you know what? You just got done writing your book. It's about to go on Amazon, and you've got some big speaking engagements coming up. You just did a TEDx, and you're going to do another one. And I understand you just booked a speaking gig in Holland, of all places. So things are going very well for you. So I was like, oh, well, let's go on and talk about that in some of the ways that you've managed to find a great deal of success in a very short amount of time. And just to give people a little bit of a background of your story, I'm looking at a picture of you in Skype right now with a Pedal South jersey on. And when I met you about 6 months ago, you were fresh off your bike from going from all the way from Alaska, the very top part of Alaska, to the very bottom point of Argentina on your bicycle. It was a 22-month trip, and you and three friends filmed it. It's being turned into a documentary. I understand there's people fighting over who gets to produce this documentary. So pretty cool, like an amazing story. But that's 22 months where you were just broke and kind of breaking yourself physically a little bit, but you came back to Austin, Texas, where you went to school, and all of a sudden you just started your career. You had nothing, and you've managed to, in the last 6 months since I've known you, you might have done more, but start and finish a book, your first book. It's shorter. It probably took me about 2.5 hours to read, but it's a very good book. And have these speaking engagements, and I was able to go to one of them where I was like, is this like Mexican Tony Robbins? This is amazing. I was so inspired, and you caught me right at a time when I was transitioning from jobs, and it was really helpful for me, the lessons that you shared in that talk. So we can get into some of those and some of those stories that you told in that talk and some of the crazy adventures you've been on. But overall, this conversation is going to be about taking massive focused action in the areas that will give you the most leverage. And I'm sorry, that was your one sentence. I took it, but you've got some questions that allow you to find more focus and to get more leverage in a shorter amount of time. And it's not about working more hours. So Ricardo, that's my intro for you. That's how I know you. If I missed anything, please let people know, and we can get started.
No, that's perfect. Thanks so much for having me. This for sure has been a really interesting journey since I came back from Pedal South, from cycling the Americas, right? And like you said, I came back and I was completely broke because I invested everything in that project, and I was homeless, and I was somewhere else mentally, for sure. I was in a place that, I don't know, it's just hard to describe, that my mind was definitely exhausted, and I was in a really unique place mentally. So yeah, it's been interesting to kind of like find a new path and see how this new career is evolving, and it's really exciting, and see how much I've been able to accomplish in such a short period of time.
Yeah. It's kind of a funny story how we met. We met in a Toastmasters, and I'd given a talk, and in that I mentioned that I'd had a podcast and I did some other stuff, and you were interested in that type of idea. So you wanted to chat with me, so you came over to my place, and we went on a hike. I live right off the Greenbelt in Austin, Texas, and this Greenbelt, it's gorgeous. It feels like I'm in Costa Rica sometimes. I love living so close to it. And we were walking through this jungly type forest, and all of a sudden you took your shirt off and took your shoes off and jumped in the water, and I'm like, who is this guy? Who does this? But you're like, oh yeah, that's how I bathe for the last 22 months. So you still were like making that transition from somebody who is just on the road, sleeping in dirt, trying to find his next meal while doing this documentary about telling stories of other people's lives as you guys take your own adventure. So that was my first experience with you. And it's been good to watch you reacclimatize. And I'm sure you've got another adventure on the horizon in the next year or two. But while you're civilized, it's also fun hanging with you.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's been fun, and it's been, it's so interesting because most people think that because of all the things that I've done, that I'm like super wild in the city and I like to party, but it's completely the opposite. And I'm such a homebody, and I love being home, and I love cleaning the kitchen, and I love just hanging out and being at peace. And it feels good to, because I'm someone that really believes that you have to fulfill the needs that you have at the moments that when you have them, if that makes sense. So I felt the need to be extremely like an explorer, right? I felt the need to go do this crazy thing, and I fulfilled that when I needed it. And now my need is to be quiet and have a simple life. And that's what I'm having right now, and it feels good. It feels really good.
What are some of the biggest takeaways? We don't have time to go over a lot of them, but what were some of the big takeaways as you are day in and day out pedaling your bike for months and months on end? What were some of the things that you were thinking about that were going through your mind?
Man, I think at the beginning was really hard because it's all about mental. Like people ask me, how did you manage to physically ride your bicycle 14,000 miles for 21 months? And to be honest, like the body acclimates really, really fast. Like within a month, you're in shape to do how many miles we did a day, but it's all about mental, and so there were really rough times when if you have a dark thought, you have 8 hours to go really south on that thought. And the main takeaway that I got out of it is that to constantly check in on yourself, and so we had to be constantly checking where we were mentally, emotionally, physically, and just adapt to that situation constantly, because if not, we were just in a place where we could just things go wrong really easily, physically or even emotionally.
Mm-hmm. So if you had a dark thought in the morning, you're thinking, oh man, why did I sign up for this? What am I doing? What did you do about that? Did you try to just beat it down? Did you just accept it? Did you just try to pedal harder and not think about it? What were some strategies that you used? Because you said the mental game was the tough part. It wasn't the physical part.
Yeah.
What were some things that helped you with that mental game?
To me, it's always about taking positive action. Like we tend to repress emotions, right? Either it could be good emotions or bad emotions. Like you feel something positive towards someone. It's rare that you actually express fully what you feel for that someone. But the other way around is the same. If you feel like a negative thought, it's rare that you express it somehow. And to me, it's always about, doesn't really matter if you have a positive or negative thought. You have to take positive action with it. And so it could be from meditating to like have a bad thought. It's like, okay, let's do a little bit of meditation. It could be from like, let's do yoga, or let's do a couple of push-ups, or let's start writing. Let's just start writing, and that's how it works. I think it's all how we focus. I remember this one time when I had a really bad pinched nerve in my shoulder when we were cycling through Mexico, and I couldn't sleep. And while I was cycling just holding with one hand because the other one was burning. It was hurting all day. And so most of the time, I was cycling as hard as I could. So the pain was not in my shoulder, was somewhere else. And I just kind of like focused on another type of pain,
Wow.
Yeah.
One thing I actually haven't even asked you about is a little bit of the team dynamics. How did that come into play? Because there was there was 4 people on this trip, and you guys all had to be moving at the same pace in the same direction. What did you guys do to stay focused on that goal and stay positive and stay upbeat, especially in the face of some real struggles that you guys went through, being robbed more than one time, and weather and animals and and all kinds of obstacles in your way?
Yeah. Well, it was crazy hard. I mean, we definitely had a lot of fights, and a lot of really intense fights. But I think the commitment that we all had is like, I rarely do teamwork to that extent, because it's rare that I find someone that is as committed as I am. But it turned out that I found 3 other guys that were as committed as I am. And so we all understood that we all had invested everything in this project, and that no matter what, not finishing it was not an option. And so we got robbed, and as soon as we got robbed, we had a conversation. It's like, hey, what's up? What do you need to do? It's like, are we gonna continue this? And it's like, yes, there's no question about it. So I think that was what kept us moving. Like, it was hard, and we fought, and we hated each other. but at the end of the day, I think we all understood that it was kind of for a higher purpose or a higher goal than just our personal struggles, I guess.
Yeah, and to bring it back, it is Able Business Radio. That it seems very similar to maybe a startup situation where you're not sure which direction to go. Maybe you have some investor money, or a big client pulled out, and you guys, you just need to know what that mission is. Otherwise, it'll deteriorate. And fortunately for you, it was a point on the map. It was like, okay, we keep moving south. So the decision of where to go wasn't as difficult, but the decision to keep going was the one that you had to make every day for nearly 2 years. But that actually, I think, segues pretty well to something we were talking about before the air that I wanted to, before we started recording, rather, that I wanted to bring up, and it was this framework that you used to know if you're pedaling in the right direction: south, north, east, west, northwest, southwest,
Cool.
in the most effective way. Because
Sure.
in business and in life, there is no Google Maps, and it's very difficult sometimes to know if you're heading the right way, or if you're sidestepping the path, or you're going down a path that isn't going to take you to where you want to be. And I'm experienced. I think that's why I resonated so much with you early on, because I was like, oh man, well, shoot, okay, I'm in business for myself, and I'm a productivity coach, but there's so many things that I could do. I could help people with their mindset, or I can help people with their systems or their technology, or all these different areas. And I wasn't really sure where to go and how much to charge and all these different questions. But you have a framework that you use to make sure that overall you're pedaling in the right direction. So I'm wondering if you could talk about those questions that you have, and sort of unpack them, so people have a really good sense of, oh, okay, I've got this new tool in my toolkit in order to make decisions.
Yeah, sure. So just before we continue, to finish in the last question, I think the main thing that we can do as a team in an organization is just to make decisions taking the ego out of the equation. And to us was like really hard, to me personally as well, being the leader of the team, just making decisions and kind of like move my ego away and really understand what was the main goal of the project, and just taking that as a consideration. That is really powerful. And when you have a team that all of them kind of like understand that concept, that if we remove the ego of everyone in the team and everybody focus on making decisions based on the final goal, you can create a lot of momentum.
Do you have an example of where your ego could have gotten in the way, but you didn't let it?
Well, I think for a long time, as a leader, I thought that I needed to have all the answers, right? I thought that I needed to do all the heavy work, and I needed to to be the one that obviously was going to have the right answer all the time. And that was completely the wrong way to go about it, and one of the things that I learned along the way was the importance of sharing leadership and really embracing each one of the roles and each one of the people in the team and how they each one of them perform better in certain areas and let them lead. And to me, it was about a team that it was not like a vertical, like I was the leader and then they were on the bottom. We were in a horizontal, and to me, making a leader that it was a servant for the team and a servant for the final goal, but also a leader that understood that each one of the roles were as important as the leader.
Yeah, I can resonate with that. As somebody who's had both types of bosses in the past, the ones who include me in the decision making and the ones who just say, do this because. I know the ones that say, do this because, and I don't last too long in those organizations. And it's something I teach when helping people in their process and their systems and their documentation is, okay, it might be the business owner that really wants to get these checklists, to get these systems in the business, but if you don't get buy-in for it, good luck. I mean, they could have the best processes in the world and people aren't going to follow them unless they had some buy-in to it, unless they were able to help write some of them and to have some feedback in it. So I resonate with that personally.
Yeah, it makes such a difference, and not only for the team but for the leader itself. Like, it just made my job way more manageable and sustainable,
Yeah, if you don't have to just if part of your energy isn't going towards being right all the time or feeling like you need to show up and look a certain way, and all your energy is going, oh, what's the best solution here? I don't care where it comes from. More ideas and more opportunities and more focus, energy, and attention are going to just naturally head the right way because you have more of it to give.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, let's talk about some of those skills. Yeah, I'm dying to hear you break those down.
Yeah, perfect. So every time that I set out to do a really big project or any kind of project, anything that I want to accomplish, I kind of follow a really simple system, because to me it's about creating simple systems. To me, it's about creating a simple foundation that can sustain strong structures. And so I came back and I was like, okay, so I wanted to do a lot of things, right? And so I followed these 4 questions. And what is the most direct, the most simple, the fastest, but still sustainable way to get where I want to go? And I'll give you an example for Pedal South to see how that relates to what I did. The thing to me was that it was, first of all, it was so clear what was our goal. Our goal was simple. We needed to go to Ushuaia, Argentina, to the end of the world, and we were going to make a documentary. And so the most direct way for me was just to go straight south. The most simple in the sense of, like, every single step that I needed to do to accomplish my goal was really simple. And so every day when I woke up, I knew that I had to do 4 things pretty much. I had to wake up, I had to cycle south, I had to capture in video and photography whatever caught my attention, and I had to go to sleep. So if every single day I did those 4 things, I knew I was doing I knew I was moving along with my goal. And then as far as the fastest way, just getting the fastest to where you want to go, because a lot of times we think that we need 2 or 3 steps before getting where we want to go, but in reality, maybe we just need 1. And so it's about understanding, and that goes back to the simple and most direct way. I think they all relate to each other. And then sustainable, because you want to move. I'm someone that is so driven, that is so committed to goals, that for years I used to go 100% all the time and then crash, and then 100% of the time and then crash. And then I realized that that was not sustainable. I realized that instead of that, I was going to create systems that was going to help me grow constantly without having crashes. Maybe I was not going to grow as fast as if I was going 100%, but I was going to grow consistently over a long period of time, which is what I think works best, to be sustainable, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So to repeat, we got direct, we got
Yeah.
simple, we got fastest, and we got sustainable. And I just want to take a moment and just we can pause here.
Okay.
And I want people out there listening to think, what's your business goal? Is it as simple as waking up and pedaling and capturing what caught your attention and going to sleep? Is it direct as going south? Is it fastest? Are you taking a route that might be a little bit circuitous and not directly there? And is what you're doing sustainable? And if you can answer yes to all four of those questions, boy, stop listening to this show because you're you're freaking on it. Go back to what you're doing. But in all likelihood, I don't think anybody out there listening, or myself included, can honestly answer 100%. Maybe they feel pretty good about the direction where they're going, but being 100% just yes, I've got all these. So taking the moment to ask those questions, even if you've already gone down a path for a little while, I think would be very, very important. One of the would you mind going through that same exercise with what you've done in your career? Because when we first talked, after you jumped into the river,
Cool.
we had some conversations about what you wanted to do next, and to be honest, you were all over the place, but you were still you're trying to figure out the most direct, simple, fastest, sustainable path to getting your goals. So maybe you can use a less simple example of your own personal career and what made you choose the path that you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm going to give you exactly how my brain thinks. So I think this is going to be interesting. So I came back, right? I came back, and one of the main reasons, the main reason that I did Pedal South is because I want to share wisdom, and I want to share a perspective of the world. And I believe that the more we understand the world, the more we understand ourselves, and the more we understand ourselves, the more we understand the world. And that leads to more understanding, leads for us to be more compassionate with one another. And I think we need more compassion in this world. So everything that I do is for the sake of others and for the sake of sharing my love for the world and my love for storytelling and my love for just having a more compassionate world. Pedal South was one way to do that, by sharing stories. And then once I fulfilled that need for exploration, which Pedal South was my dream come true for like 20 years. I worked 20 years to get to a point where I was able to travel the world doing what I love, serving others. And I achieved that dream, and I came back from Pedal South. And then I was trying to figure out, okay, so then that's done. What else do I do now? And I was really I was lost for a while, I was lost because I didn't have that drive. I didn't have that clear dream. But after a while, it was really clear that I just wanted to focus on serving others now. And I wanted to focus on sharing a message, sharing wisdom, knowledge, and perspectives that I learned along the way that really impacted and improved my life to others. And so I came back, and I really went for like crazy scientist mode for a couple months, just researching as many people as I found out there, kind of sharing a similar message, right? People that were impacting their followers, their tribes, with like really inspirational or like tactics, or like, there's a bunch of different people out there doing a lot of different things. So I spent a lot of time just researching and all the people out there, and I, more than anything, researching what were they doing. Were they writing? Were they blogging? Were they doing podcasts? Were they doing seminars? Were they speaking? Were they, I just went and like researched every single way for you to share a message. And after I had like a map of all the things that I could potentially do, I kind of just decided to follow the ones that made sense to me. That made sense to me, follow based on my personality, based on the life that I want to live. Because to me, I think for a long time I was searching to have a successful career, but then I realized that more than anything I wanted to have a lifestyle, right? Um, and so just to give you like side note, like I had an option to go and to do a master's degree in cinematography in LA or do Pedal South. Um, and if and it's the best cinematography school in the world, right? And so I decided Pedal South because I understood that I wanted a lifestyle more than a successful career, and I realized that if I followed that path, I was going to have a successful career as a filmmaker, but I was not going to have the lifestyle that I wanted, which is to travel, to have time, to explore, and to just be creative when I wanted to be. So anyhow, so out of that idea of like I wanna have a lifestyle more than anything, what are the things, the type of messages that I want to create right now? Maybe I can build later, but I can start with something right now. And I think that's the most powerful thing that I did. Like, what can I start doing today? Like, I don't need tools. I don't need anything else. What can I start doing today? And so I came up with the answer. Okay, so I can write. I can write a book. I've been wanting to write a book for a while. I can write. I can speak. I can share my message in conferences or whatever they get me to speak, and I can coach people. And also, I can just share videos on Facebook. So everything was things that I didn't needed more knowledge. I didn't needed more anything. I can just start doing per se. That makes sense?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people, myself included, get caught up in oh, okay, well, I need to credential myself, or I need
Yeah.
to, I need to have some sort of approval before making something happen. And
Yeah.
I'll share this story. I don't know, you might be mad at me, and we can cut it. So we met at Toastmasters. I was giving a talk, and then you came to the next one, and you gave part of a speech, and I think you won the best speech of that day out of three people.
Yeah.
So you got the blue ribbon.
Okay, I got blue ribbon.
It was good. It was good. It was like a quality little 10-minute presentation. You don't have a lot of time in Toastmasters. And when you told me, "Oh, I've got a speaking gig next week that's paying me $5,000 and I'm doing 2 gigs," I okay, I'm borderline almost as good as this guy. Until I actually saw your talk, and it was just amazing. So I'm not going to say that anymore. But yeah, you just like, okay, how do I do this? Well, I want to share this message, and I want to have some financial freedom. So I'm going to find a high-paying corporate speaking gig for was it HEB, which is
Yeah, it was
is a
HEB.
local grocery store in Texas.
Yeah. Yeah.
It stands for Herbert E. Butts is the guy's name.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I
Yeah.
just found that out. Um, and it just was so direct. You did not wait to get your competent communicator at Toastmasters. You didn't wait to do a speaking class or anything like that. You knew you had a message. You knew you'd done enough self work to really understand that hey, this is something I'm naturally pretty good at, and something I think I could do well at. So I think that self knowledge and self confidence and just looking, hey, where's the most direct path here, allowed you to do something like that.
Yeah, I think so too, for sure. And by the way, it was like I spoke 2 times and each one was 5,000, so I got paid $10,000 for that gig. And that was the first professional gig I gave. And I killed it, by the way. I killed it. They loved it. It was like, oh, the best speaker we had. And so, anyhow. But yeah, so yeah, so going back to like the whole
What were
story.
you saying about the ego just a minute ago? What was that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So going back to the thing was that. So yeah. So I had this. Okay. So I knew that I could write, I could speak, and I could
You can make
coach.
videos, you can
And
coach.
make videos, right. And so in a specific, to me was I focused first on speaking, and then I was like, okay, so what is the most direct way to get there, right? And I knew I had a message, and I knew that my message was really powerful, and I spent time working on the message and what I wanted to say. But what I did was I researched a lot of speakers, right? And I went and researched a lot of well, first of all, I bought a course, right? I bought a course for being a speaker, and I did everything on the course. But also, I found speakers that were kind of similar to my topic, like maybe another adventures, or inspirational, or leadership. And I went and I found them in the speaking bureaus, and I looked like, okay, so which are the guys that are getting paid like $10,000 or $15,000 or whatever? And I went and I researched like 300 speakers, and I look at all their websites, and I see how are they selling themselves and how they are doing, and just kind of like learn from them. And based on that research that I did, I created my website, and then I went and I talked to a event planner, and I asked her, okay, so could you please tell me what you want in a website? And so she told me, oh my goodness, so if every speaker out there had these things in their website, it will make my life incredibly easy. I'm like, perfect. So I went and put all those things in my website, and so I created this kind of like an image for myself, which is like that is true to my message, right? And it's true to who I am, and it's true to the value that I bring. But then from there, I started then pursuing all the bigger speaking gigs, and since then I've been getting a couple of them for sure. And like yesterday, I just got one that I'm going to speak in a conference in front of like 400 CEOs, and I'm going to be the closing speaker, and I'm going to talk about like mindfulness in the organization.
Wow, congrats.
Yeah,
And yeah, talk about direct. Like, oh, you want to be a speaker? Talk to people who book speakers. Study
sure.
people who are or speakers who you want to be. And I don't know, it seems so obvious when you say it, but it's not common practice, I don't think. And in business too, that's something that I'm really trying to learn for myself. Is a lot of times people fall into the trap of wanting to do it their own way and be really unique and solve a lot of different problems. And in reality, it's like no, the same problems have been going on for a while. And if you could solve one, or if you could share a message, or if you could do something that somebody else has done, but with your unique spin on it, based off a successful model. So that's what you did, is you looked for models and you looked for examples. That's what's gonna get you there the fastest, rather than trying to recreate the wheel in every single little area. And I'm always a fan of just, if there's a way out there that really resonates with me, it's just like, okay, I'm stealing that. I do it in productivity all the time. Somebody talks about a new technique or a new tool. It's like, oh, cool, adding that one to my toolkit, just to be able to incrementally, just 1% at a time, grow myself, grow my capacity as an individual or as a business owner.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think, to me, I've been really blessed that I've had a couple of mentors in my life that really shaped me. And there's one in specific that I can see my life before and after that. And to me, it's imperative to accomplish what I want to have mentors. But even if I don't have them one-on-one, I go find mentorship, even if it's a book, right? And it's it's good, because I think what helps me pursue them is because I've always had in my mind that it's not about me, right? And so to me, I'm doing a work or service, and I'm serving others by sharing this message. And so if I don't go find the tools that I need, if I don't go find the mentorship or whatever I need to be able to deliver that message, someone else is going to be affected. So that really pushes me to, like, okay, let's forget about the ego. Let's just find whatever information I need to find. Let's train myself. Let's just move things forward,
I like it. Well, Ricardo, I promised that I would get you out of here in 30-ish minutes. And the main takeaway I have from this conversation are those questions that you have: is the direct, the simple, the fastest, the sustainable. Is there anything that you would like to leave Able Business Radio listeners with, any sort of message or call to action for them to live a better life?
Yeah, I think, a couple of things. I think, first of all, is just taking action. I think we spend too much time thinking and not too much time doing. and at the same time, and I think we were talking about this before we started, but there's so much information out there. There's so much books, so many books and conferences and seminars and blah 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 blah. And I feel like people are really confused nowadays. And I think the main thing that has helped me just to stay kind of balanced is that I'm not trying to add. I'm constantly trying to take away whatever is not unessential, unnecessary in my life, and that has made me a lot more productive. Way more productive. But not only productive, that has given me a lot more peace, per se. Because I'm forced to listen to myself a lot more and just become more self-reliant, and that does a lot to your confidence, self-confidence for sure. And the second, I'll tell again that quote, that sentence that you said earlier, is that it's about taking massive focused action in goals that are going to give you the most leverage. And that's simple. Like, that is so simple, but if you truly follow that sentence, if you study that sentence and apply it in whatever you do in your life, you'll see really massive results.
I've got to introduce you to, borderline can call him a friend, Jay Papasan, who co-authored The One Thing. And
cool.
in this book, it talks about, it's a very similar phrase, and it says, what's the one thing that you could do in that such everything would be easier or unnecessary? And that's the focusing question that book talked about as a way of shedding some of the unnecessary things that you're doing, and really driving home all of your focus in the area that's going to give you the biggest return, the 20% that's going to give you 80% of the results. I'm just curious, because when I've heard that before, it's, addition through subtraction and taking things away. Do you have one or two examples of some things that you have subtracted from your life in order to drive you more towards your goals of sharing your message?
Drama. Drama so much. I think that I was addicted to drama at some point in my life, and I think for a while was, I grew up in a really not healthy environment in Mexico for many reasons, and so I think that I was just trained to be attracted to drama, and I trained myself back to not have drama. Now that I have a really healthy relationship with my girlfriend, I realized that it's so much energy that I was wasting. There's so much energy that I was wasting, and also, for example, like as far as like my career, I guess, for example, right now, like we were talking, I'm starting the whole online courses and coaching and things like that, realizing that at this moment I'm just going to pursue the speaking until I have a really simple but foundation, and then later I can build a strong structure, right? And so I'm just focusing on something right now, because for a moment I was trying to do too much at a time, and then I realized that there's time to do everything. And if anything, if you focus on just one thing, like the book said, you actually can accomplish it way faster, and you can build on that faster than what you think,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. If we had a little bit more time, I'd be like, okay, what should I subtract, Ricardo?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some obvious things that you would point out. Before we go, I just want to let people know, and it'll be in the show notes. Your book is coming out on Amazon in a couple days. I had a chance to read it before it came out, and it's wonderful. It tells of the story, numerous stories that you've had growing up in Mexico City, coming to the United States, going to Spain, and walking I can never pronounce it. I'll have you do that.
Camino de Santiago pilgrimage.
Yes. That pilgrimage.
Cool. Cool.
And doing the Pedal South journey and all the lessons you learn upon the way, and it's powerful. It's really good, and it does a good job of encapsulating kind of your story and some of your philosophies in it. It's not very preachy. It just says this is what I've learned. And this is what that has worked for me. And if people want to find out more about you or maybe hire you for a speaking gig, ricardopal.com. And is there any other place online where they should connect with you?
In Facebook, I do a lot of stuff in Facebook. But if you go to ricardopal.com, you can find the link to Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, that's I hang out a lot in Facebook. I just keep it really simple. I have Instagram, but for now I'm just trying to focus in a couple of social media. I don't want to be everywhere.
Okay. Good. All right. So the Facebook users will catch some cool videos. I managed to catch one or two. I have this thing called Facebook News Feed Eradicator on my Facebook. So I don't see anything unless somebody messages me directly. And even then, I don't always see it because
I love that tool.
Oh, you got that one too?
That's amazing.
Okay. Yeah.
It sounds amazing.
Okay. It's a Chrome application. I'll put it in the show notes as well, so people who are a little bit addicted can get a little bit of help there. So, Ricardo, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you sharing your story, sharing your message, and giving me personally some food for thought.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Able Business Radio. Zach wants to help more small business owners like you make 1% improvements that add up to big results. Was this show helpful? Pay it forward. Subscribing and writing a review in iTunes is one of the best ways to help more people find out about the show. Thanks again for tuning in. We hope to see you here next Wednesday, where we will continue to share 1% improvements that will help you become a more useful, less stressed business owner.